Welcome back. So as we know, as we've been studying how to become a more consistent golfer, we know that if I'm an inconsistent golfer, then I have a lot of focus on lack or the energy and feeling of what I desire really not being here. It's just not here, and I continue. And as you sit in that energy of it not being here, we're going to see more of the not being here. So as we worked in our last session, in session 9, we talked about what if we had a parallel person to us, or this image of ourselves being that consistent golfer. So in our last lesson, if you've taken that on and you started to sit in the energy of, hey, what would the consistent golfer really start to feel like? So you're starting to take on literally a parallel version of who you are. So let's see, I am this consistent golfer, and overall there are many more possible versions of consistency. I could be of any number of levels. So let's say we picked there are 10 possible levels of this consistent golfer, and one is a little bit consistent. You could make your 10th one extremely consistent, or you're just rocking the world playing a lot of golf. So these, you start to imagine your golf game like this, and remember everything that we're doing in our life based on imagination. If you've got a new car, a new home, it all started with imaging, or it's called imagineering, or you're basically trying to imagine things. Golf is the same way. All creation is that way. It starts with images of your mind. So science proves that basically the observer is going to basically determine what reality is going to look like. So we know that your conscious expectation of what and who you are affects the reality that you're going to see. So when it comes down to this, and in the previous video we had some articles on this, but all things are energy. There are basically particle waves, and before they are matter, as they sit in these waves, our consciousness basically is determining what these waves are turning into. Science can prove that when someone walks into the room based on their expectations and belief, matter starts to form, and it'll start to form differently, and that conscious belief can actually affect the matter. It doesn't even have to be in the room. A consciousness can affect matter in a totally separate location. So science can measure this. But for our purpose here, basically we know that as a golfer, we want to be a consistent golfer. There are infinite possibilities for us to be that infinite or that more consistent golfer. And our thoughts, our emotions, our vibration has everything to do with our circumstances that we see when we play. We can associate this. If I'm an inconsistent golfer, my energy and emotions are low. If I start to find that better play, my energy, emotions, thoughts, feelings, they start to raise. So to become basically the creator of your golf game, the sky is the limit. Now we've taken many lessons, especially many people who may be watching this, a lot of lessons in the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years. You've purchased lots of golf clubs. You've put a lot of time and effort into trying to become that consistent golfer. So I want you to be grateful and have gratitude for that. And it's like, although the struggle may be there, and you may not see all the results that you really want at this point, be grateful. Just know that, hey, my determination is going to pay off, and it's going to pay off this year. So we go back to the idea of this parallel reality. So we have 10 other versions of what this consistent golfer for you would look like. And this is something you may not have tried to do before. I've done experiments with this, actually this whole last summer. This is why I kind of delayed my book and things. So one of the experiments that I did, because I know that my consciousness is going to affect the outcome that I see, my energy, my vibration. So one of these experiments I did, I played around the golf, and I've been practicing on a range, exuding being Al, who he is, and working on my swing. And there are certain days that I would take on, I'd go to the range and practice a parallel version of me. One of the parallel versions of me was this higher player, better, making more birdies, even winning tournaments. So that consciousness, that whole conscious construct of who I was, I felt, I exuded. I then took it to the course one day. I even blogged about it and wrote about it. And that's the day I shot 69. So this is all life is a conscious projection, and I just lived through this, experimenting with it. I knew it would affect my reality, and it affected it in a very positive way, because I don't normally shoot 69. I teach too much and don't get too much chance to play golf so much. But it was a great experience. So what I'd like you to do this week is to take on the idea, hey, there are 10 possible parallel selves of who you are, that consistent golfer. You start to look into these. What would they feel like? How would they act? How would they feel? And on different days, go to the practice range and pick one of those. Pick one of those. You're definitely going to find that your nuances as to how you approach a shot and things like that, because you may mimic like a tour player or a better player that you know. You may start to mimic that a little bit. I know I did. And start to take on this experiment and start to see that basically your life is a conscious projection. If you start to change how you perceive reality and what you expect reality to look like, you start to take on the feeling, the vibrance of this consistent golfer. And it could be one of, let's just say, 10 levels, 10 possibilities. Of course, there are infinite possibilities for you. I'm only suggesting you look into 10. One of the things for your homework, maybe write out 2 or 3 of them and what that consistent golfer would be. Then go to the range, take on 1 or 2 of those individuations of possible selves, and go to the course and do it also. When you do this, you're definitely going to see that your conscious mind, your energy, your emotions, your expectations, it has a great effect, and you'll see tremendous differences in how you play and practice. To start to become more consistent. And as the light's going to come on, it's going to dawn on you. You're going to start to say, consistency is an only thing I'm looking for, because now you're going to start to look for higher and higher potential, because there it sits awaiting for you, parallel to the reality that you have. It's just your perception, energy, and expectation that affects how you see it.